this is what you need to start with. You need to lay out a couple of rolls of paper towel, because that little white, stuff gets everywhere, and you're trying to clean it up. It's difficult. So put some, a couple rolls of paper towels. You need a bowl like this that is not straight up and down, but it's got rounded edges. You'll see why in a little bit. And you need a scrap pan. Actually, the way this pan comes up, even though it's too small, it comes straight up at an angle, where that one's more like a bell. If you have one that it's bigger like that one, it actually works better than that one, but that one still works just fine, which is the most common one. You need some suet, a fat bladed knife, so it's safer and get more control. I have no way of holding this camera while I'm doing it, so I'll just kind of keep going in at each stage. I cut them into like slices of cake first. I just, grab one of those. I kind of cut it down, slice it like you would have sliced a cake, a square cake, and then I chop those into these size here to get ready for the grinder. In the process of cutting, like that piece has a little bit of a meat thing. I'll cut that off. That one has a little bit here and there. I'm not going to worry about that. That's going to cook off. If I get to a piece that's got a couple little meaty strips, I'll cut those off, but I won't, I won't go crazy with it. Just get the bulk of it off, because you're going to cook this off anyway. But the less you have, it is better. But you don't have to go crazy and try to take out every little brown or red speck in it. Just main ones like that. Okay, there they all cut up. Keep in mind, you really don't want to put tallow down the sink because of the drains. So like my utensils, I wipe off with paper towels and get as much off as I possibly can. I do something a little different on each aspect of it, but just try to wipe as much you can off with paper towels, so you're not putting a bunch of tallow down the sink. Here's the grinder set up. Again, those little tallow things can go all over the place, so I put paper towel down because it's easier. Then I have a smaller one that I grind into. Then I have another bowl just like the other one with a rounded tip I put it into. And you can use the biggest tip, the biggest hole opening. You do not have to grind it down to fine or medium like a hamburger or anything else. I take the rag that I had, the paper towel that I had laying across there, and then I wipe this out, all the tallow, and I wipe out as much of that and my little starboard. I try to clean as much as you can off with paper towels at this stage. I'll show you what we do about washing later so it doesn't go down the sink. But there's the finished tallow ready for the cooker. Once I got everything somewhat wiped down with paper towels to get the bulk, there's still some suet here and there, but I get the best that I can. And then what I do is I make sure the water is super hot. And then first I rinse this suet, make sure it's all melted on that side. And then I can't do this while I'm filming, and I'll just take each part and I'll spray over it and rinse with hot water to get that, the suet melted and unstuck. Once I have gotten all pieces rinsed, I'm trying not to overfill this pan, and then I put Dawn into it, and then I kind of just whoosh it around. Then you take that pan outside and you dump that soapy, greasy water out, and that gets rid of 99% of the tallow. So then you can come back and just wash all this like you normally would. But you're trying to avoid putting anything like lard or tallow down your sink. Not a good idea. After the other two bowls, I held over this and rinsed those other two bowls out, so I have to bring them out. So now I just kind of come out on the board and just kind of rinse them off and set them here. Not really wash them, just let the heat and the moisture do everything. Kind of whoosh it around. Water's pretty hot, move fast. It's pretty clean, but we still want to. The cutting board was wiped off too, but it was dirty as well. So I lay all this out here on this, and I just kind of take that and just pour it over everything. And then I just put it all back in. And then I can, it's safe now to wash it inside without worrying about the tallow. On the first run, this is about the most, I kind of pull out before I filter, I kind of pull out the main thing. This is about as worse as it gets. This particular pack had more, things other than just suet. The last pack I did, literally, there was nothing in here. So it depends on how clean the pack is. So sometimes you don't have any, but I'm not going to keep cooking that down. I'm just wanting to get the best of the best. And so I'll stop it, before I strain it. I'll just go ahead and get rid of that now before I even begin to strain it. Then trying to pour it out of this bowl without leakage is hard and it's hot. I just find to do like most people do and use a scooper. And I get some cheesecloth and put down. And so I'm not going to sit here and show it, but I'm going to, the whole time, I'm trying not to stir up the water too much. And you can see I made myself a little napkin bridge and just pour it over one at a time. At the very end, when it gets a little bit lower, you can grab something and just pour it directly from the thing. If you want to find a way to try to dump that hot thing one way at a time. But sometimes you never know how fast it's going to go through the cheesecloth. A lot of people actually use paper towels, and that is much slower than cheesecloth. And you can kind of regulate how fine you want to filter it by how many layers of cheesecloth. If that makes any sense. So I'm just going to put all that into this bowl. Now I have it all in this bowl. If you look, if the light's good enough, you can see little water bubbles and air pockets. But that's why you kind of want to put it in here when it's still hot. I put a thing down to, because it's about 210 degrees. When that's on high, it's 210. But it allows that water to separate. Once it's taken, it's basically boiling out the impurities in the salt water, but that solution separates. And that's why you want a bowl that is at an angle. So when the time comes, this will turn rock hard and you can just get that to spin out. I actually put hot water on the side so it just comes right out. I'll show you that later. But now I let this sit out until it gets down to at least 80 degrees or so, and then I put it in the refrigerator so that it gets a true separation and that tallow gets rock hard. I just set everything else in the pan, and for now I don't have any chicken, so I just put that in a Ziploc baggie. I take the little towel that was, bridged over, and I did a pre-wipe to get rid of it. Now I'm going to get a towel and do the same thing so I can basically wipe it so I don't have to take it outside. Again, you don't want to put tallow down. I don't want to go outside, but just one towel, good wiping, you get 90% of it and you're good to go without going through all that I did earlier during the big grind. I'm ready to start round 2. I heat water, another 8 cups of water with 3 tablespoons of salt. And what I do with the tallow that's cold is I take my, I don't know if you have this or not, but what's easy to get that tallow out is to put this on the side of that bowl and then spin it. I'm going to set it down for a second. I'm just holding that hot water on that towel line on the side of that sink, and I'm just spinning it. I'm just heating that side to release it instead of having to fight to get it out. If you notice now how it will go round and round and round. Now I'm just going to lay it to one side and pull that out. You can see the color of the water. It's getting out the impurities. It's not super clear, but that's the water at the bottom. And then what you have left is that slice of cheese looking thing. And now we're just going to put another 8 cups of water with 3 tablespoons of salt into the crock pot. I'm just going to break this up enough, just with a butter knife in sections just to be able to get it back into there to start to cook for the second time. Now that it's the final time, I use a paper towel. It's a finer straighter than the cheesecloth is. Now, if you put enough layers of cheesecloth, it will do the same thing. It'll be a little bit faster, but by the time you put enough layers of cheesecloth, that could be kind of expensive. I'm going to do some investigating. And in the automotive paint and body, we used to be able to order really fine mesh type strainers that are permanent. But it takes going through the paper towel. It's a little slower, but you are filtering it better than just cheesecloth itself. But it is slower, so you really can't dump it in. Just kind of do it as you go, spoonful at a time. Again, a mesh strainer that was finer than that, but not as a paper towel where it's so slow. At least with a paper towel where you feel comfortable that you're really filtering it out good. Okay, I'm about to start the last round. I got it in the sink. I'm going to spin it with the hot water on the side, and then spin that while I hold the heat there to make that easy again. And again, after doing that on the side, then that just breaks free and makes it easier for you to pull that up and out. In the beginning, as far as the grinding, now people have used, I've seen where people just chopped them up. I've seen, as far as the suet, I've seen it where they put it like in a grinder, like a blender. And I tried that with a double-bladed Ninja. That didn't work so well. And then I did the grinding. The grinding by far is best. You get the quickest and the cleanest and the fastest, separation of all the impurities. So now I'm fixing to remove this and put it on a paper towel on a cutting board to dry it off. I just removed it, and this was round 2, and you see now how clear the water is. They say, this is, the 2 cooking, that actually if you want to make cosmetic and things of that nature, you just do this same procedure one more time. Even though it looks clear now, you still do it one more time for, I guess, cosmetic grade or whatever. Now that I have it on paper towels on a cutting board, you can see I've already dabbed it a few times. I'm just placing it over, and I'm just kind of keep getting new paper towels until I get rid of all the moisture, which is not hard, but you're just trying to get all the moisture this time out, because this is the final time. You're not going to be putting water into the cook anymore. This is going to go directly with no water, dry, ready for the final tallow. Okay, now I got the final tallow all dry, and now I cut it up in with a butter knife. It just kind of breaks apart, and we're going to put that back into the crock pot with no water, on low, just with the low heat and tallow, and no water. Okay, so I got it broken up, everything, no water, dried, on low, and maybe an hour. You're not trying to cook it or anything, you're just trying to melt it down now, where you could do the, pouring it off into containers. There'll be a little bit of moisture in the bottom of one of the beakers. I'll explain in a minute when the time comes. But this is the final round. So now we just need to heat it up and get it melted, 120, 30 degrees or something like that. You don't have to worry about checking the temperature. Just put it on low, and as soon as it's liquid and pretty warm, so that any of the final water can still separate in the bottom of your beaker. So just get it melted good is all you got to do. Okay, now it's all melted, ready to go into the jars. A little trick: there's still a touch of more moisture that'll end up in the bottom. So what I do is I take and I dip out really slow. I don't stir it up, and I'll fill like a jar, a jar full from the top, because there will be no water in it. And so what I do then I pour it into this bigger beaker, and you'll be able to see the water. a little bit of moisture at the bottom of the glass, and it's separated like oil and vinegar, and so you pour that off. But the problem is, before you get to the water line to pour the oil off on this bigger one, you have to stop, and there's still some tallow there. So then I pour that to a smaller one, and like I say, when you're pouring it, you'll see the line of the little bit of moisture at the bottom, and then when you start to see like some of that moisture go into your cup, you pour it into a smaller one. Then that smaller one will let you get more of the oil out and still leave the water. You do not have to go through this process. You can just waste a little bit and just stop it with that one and not do that. I'm just a penny pitcher and like to get my money's worth. But after this, the process is done. I just put the lids on while it's still warm, and it's over. Good luck. I went ahead and hopped back on so you can physically see what I was talking about. You can see the water at the bottom. So when you pour that, you just pour slowly, not slowly, but you just pour that until the water gets close to the top to come out, and then you stop before any water from the little bit of water from the bottom hits it. And that's when you would pour into a smaller beaker. That would, each smaller one would let you get more out. But you could just waste some, or you could be like me and, like I say, take it to the smaller beakers to where you pretty much get it all and not let the water go in.